Welcome to another empowering and purpose-driven episode of the No Limits Life podcast, where powerful stories meet transformational journeys. Today's episode is about service, leadership, and an unwavering commitment to community and legacy. When you lead with heart and serve with purpose, success follows as a natural result. Our guest today is a true embodiment of servant leadership. He is an Air Force veteran, a pilot, an entrepreneur, and a passionate community builder. From building premier auto management from the ground up to mentoring others and uplifting his community. He leads not only with wisdom, but with heart. His story reflects grit, values, and a deep-rooted desire to make a difference. Please welcome the inspiring Scott Lehman.
Very nice words.
Scott.
But I gotta correct you. I was an Army vet, not an Air Force vet.
Ah, interesting. So, Scott, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I know you're a very busy man, so thank you for the time. Let's begin by reflecting on that quote. When you lead with heart and serve with purpose, success follows as a natural result. How does it resonate with your life and leadership journey?
When you put people first, it's easy to find a purpose and a reason to do what you're doing rather than just trying to make transactions.
When you put people first, that's service of others.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and it's your customers, it's your employees, it's everybody that you even your vendors. When you put those people first, many times people look at business as being this confrontational or adversarial type of thing. I never look at it that way. I think it's all partners, whether it's employees, whether it's vendors, whether it's even customers. Everybody has to work together to be successful.
Absolutely. This is I admire the way you say it and the passion that flows through you. Unfortunately, in the world of business, that's not always the case. When you say it's about them, it's about your clients, about the customer. A lot of business people that I've seen, and unfortunately, for most, it's what's happening out there, where people put themselves before others. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think they're missing opportunities to really get some rewards. For example, you would never know the impact you can make on somebody if you don't put them first and take the risk of sometimes
what's in it for them.
For them, yes. And not for you.
Yeah.
So then you find out these inspirational things that happen by doing that.
So you see immediately it's an instant reward that you make somebody happy. You just help somebody and you make their lives that much more better. And that's what I think you're referring to, instant gratification or inspiration.
What I teach my people, and I have for years, is that helping people is contagious. And when you see that you change somebody's life, then it becomes very contagious, and you want to do it again, and you want to do it again, yeah. and it just becomes addicting.
Exactly. You said something interesting. When you see that you change somebody's life, I would go further and say, when you feel that you have changed someone's life, because the energy is right there. They smile. They're more upbeat, and you did something great for them. What motivated you to do everything you have in your life?
Oh, easy. My dad. My dad was, that's my hero. Whew. We lost him last year. It's hard to talk about him.
It is okay.
But he was everything to me. And he taught me everything. I watched him grow a business. I watched how he took care of people. I watched how he took care of strangers in our town. And I heard stories of it at his services where people said, I came to town, I didn't know what to do, I didn't have any place, and your dad said, here, go stay here. And then let me know if you like it, you can buy it. And that's just kind of the way he was. So that's where I learned that from.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that if you had a book to write about your book, would you title it My Father, My Hero?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
What would you say about him?
Oh, just that he was just the most generous, smartest, hardest working guy you would ever know. I mean, he had integrity beyond belief, and
sounded like he was really giving too.
Oh gosh, he was
passionate.
Yeah.
did at any point growing up saw in your father that belief that you were going to succeed where you at now? Do you think he saw that for you?
He finally did. I had made some terrible mistakes when I was younger.
As we all do.
And I'll never forget telling him, we were going through some really tough times. I said, someday, Dad, I'll make you proud. My goal was always to make him proud. And I think by the end I did.
But don't you think it's not something you needed to tell him because he was already proud of you?
He was.
The minute you were born.
Oh, sure.
That feeling of seeing, a child come to this earth and being the father.
And I would say he wasn't unproud. I'm sure I disappointed him along the way.
Like we all do.
Like
My children disappoint me every single day.
So I spent the
That's what they are here for. I remember one day I was working with a client and she was pulling her hair and I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Oh, my kids, they drive me insane." And I said, "Aren't they there for that? That's their job, to disappoint us." But you know what? You wouldn't be proud of them if they didn't screw up to begin with. You wouldn't see the good thing if you don't know what the bad thing is.
Sure.
So my father was a hero, but my mom was even the biggest hero for me. And that parent figure, and when you grow up and see them going through their own challenges, making their own mistakes. And some people say to me, I was driven by the fact I didn't want to be like my father, or I wanted to be like my father. Either or, you can be inspired and do bigger and better things.
Sure.
My father was illiterate, never went to school. He worked in factory and in France, and I never wanted to be like him. Hence, he would tell me, I would bring him his lunch every day at 12, walked from my house and give him his lunch, and he'd be there, and not even after 2 bites, his manager would come and say, "Done, you come, let's go." And he would say to me, "This is what I'm talking about. This you do not want to be." And that's what led me to get where I am and done what I did, because this deep down inside my heart, his voice was there saying, "Don't, son. You do not want to be like me." For you, it's the opposite.
So I want you to turn back the clock. Okay, so now pretend Nordine's 20-year-old Scott. So you have tons of experience, very entrepreneurial person. I actually, and I've told a lot of people this that I know that know you, that I think your brain's like a Disney brain. You just, I mean this sincerely. You can see things that other people don't see. You think out of the box. To me, that's a gift. Okay. So, but my question to you is, let's say 20-year-old Scott sitting right next to you. With everything you know today, what would you tell 20-year-old Scott? What advice would you give?
Well, if you're driven to take chances and willing to take chances, I say you can't hit home runs if you're not swinging. Everything will not be successful. You're going to strike out sometimes, but doesn't mean you stop swinging. And I struck out several times, but I've hit some home runs. And you're never going to hit a home run if you're not swinging. And so when you have a great idea that you think can work, give it everything you got, and just see it might just be a home run.
You have to love what you do, and most importantly, why you're doing it.
You do. I think you always have to find some purpose in what you're doing. If you don't have a purpose, I think it really becomes pretty shallow.
And that's where you mentioned...
Hard to get passion for something that doesn't have
absolutely,
purpose.
And that's where you mentioned if you're willing. Then I would say if you're driven and willing to get there, you can. You just need to put the plan together and get there. So would you say that everything you've done, you saw it first?
Yes.
And that is huge.
Some call it a gift. Sometimes it's a curse, but I am able to kind of see these things and like visually see them in my mind. Say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to build.
Visually see them in your mind.
I can see it. I can smell it. I can hear it.
Everyone that we interviewed here said the same thing. And everyone I worked with and everyone in Hollywood, everyone that succeeded and got somewhere saw where they were going, saw what they wanted to do.
Before they did it.
Before they did it.
Yep.
And that's key, Because when you do that, and I'm sure that's what happened to you, you saw that, then you had that, I call the power of your intention. You intend to get there. So first you see it, I call it magic. It's like a force inside of you. It's internal that inspires you to do everything it takes. It's like, I'll take an example. When you fall in love, okay, you'll do whatever it takes to get the object of your love. When you fall in love with a woman or man, you have that magic and you intend to be with that person by doing everything it takes. In your example, your father brought that into you. You got that from him to see things and achieve things. But you fell in love with pretty much everything you've done.
Yeah, and if I'm not, I get out.
Exactly.
Sometimes you think, you start a project and you think it's something that you love and you want to do, and then you find out that, you know what, it's really
wasn't.
not. It's not my passion.
It's not a burning core desire.
So I got to go.
Exactly. This one day, Deepak Chopra was interviewing this billionaire, Japanese billionaire, and he said, well, you've never been to business school. How do you make these decisions? And he said, I swallow the deal. If it gives me indigestion, I don't do it.
As long as I've known you, you've been very successful at business, but you're also very philanthropic. You do a lot for the community. So how do you balance that? Like, how do you know how much to do? Because I would imagine you have people coming after you all the time, and it's not a bad thing, but at some point, you only have so much time, you only have so much money to help them with. So how do you figure that out?
Well, I'll tell you the way I figured it out. First of all, I've always believed that from the very beginning that you have to give back to the communities you operate in. And from the very first car we sold, we have reserved a small amount or a portion of it, the profit of that car, to give back. And so I've always accumulated money because what I didn't want to do is like say, oh, I can't help people because I don't have any money. I always wanted to reserve a little bit of money so I could help out. And then I kind of apply this, I don't know if the theory or whatever, I call it disparity of impact, right? So some things I can do that don't take a lot of, don't make a lot of impact on me, but make a huge impact on somebody else. And so I look for a lot of opportunities where you can provide that disparity of impact and where you can make a huge
disparity
difference.
of impact, interesting.
Yeah. At the end of the day, maybe it's not that big an impact on me, but it's a huge impact on whoever it is I'm helping. And that could be giving away a car. It could be making donations. Making donations to me are not all that fun.
Yeah.
Like doing PSAs, say, for an organization, for me, I think is way more impactful. And see, this is where that disparity of impact comes.
Yeah.
For me, maybe I can leverage a media partner and go on a show like this and help bring awareness to a cause that they could never have done on their own.
Yes, exactly. This show is based on awareness.
So when you look at that, it's like, well, they could never have, a money donation would have never provided that for them.
I'm remembering now the word impact. You've said it probably at least 10 times. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by impact? Because my father used to say this: charity is giving something even if you don't have it, and not expecting anything in return. Mm-hmm. When you give, that's not your mindset. You're not expecting anything in return. What is the impact then to you when you give something to the community?
It's just like I said in the beginning. You don't hit a home run every time, and sometimes you help people, and you don't get to see the results of that. I've had cases where I've provided housing for people, and then they've messed it up and moved on. And it's like, why do you keep doing that? I said, well, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's what your job is done. Whether they do whatever they want to do, exactly, it's their problem. But you've done to the community. And the impact to you is that I have done what I'm supposed to be doing.
Sometimes the impact is huge when you see somebody that's able to buy a home for the first time, or you see somebody that's been able to buy a car for the first time. We've had people that we have helped that have ridden the bus for 20 years, and we've helped them, shown them a way where they could have their own car. And literally crying in the showroom because they said, I never thought I would be able to get off of this bus. And you talk about changing a life, right? So now they have freedom that they never had before.
Yeah,
and when they
absolutely.
experience that, I mean, so those are some things that you see where you get an immediate impact on. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah, it happens later, and you don't even know.
Well, you don't, because there's a ripple effect of every
Ripple
one of those
effect.
things. So you throw that stone and you just see the first ring, but sometimes you don't realize what happens down the road, how maybe you changed their kid's life or their grandkids' life
Absolutely.
because of what you were able to do.
Absolutely.
And so those are the, those are, the intrinsic things out there that you may
Absolutely.
never see.
Absolutely, Scott, and into your to explain further how that impact can change lives. After a devastating, humiliating competition, my first show, where I froze on stage and I didn't want to compete anymore. I was done. So I felt so sorry about the whole experience and for myself. I went, and there was a break where runner-up Mr. Olympia, which is the highest title in bodybuilding, was signing photographs. And he looked at me from afar, and he pointed at me and asked me to come to see him. I said, me? And he said, yes. So I went there, and through his assistant, and he asked her to translate, and he said, do not despair. Don't give up. Do not give up.
Can we say who that is?
Muhammad Makawi, twice, runner-up Mr. Olympia, 4 or 5 times Mr. Universe. The guy signed an autograph, which I didn't have money for. I said, I don't have money for this. And he said, no, it's mine. And he signed. That photograph is the reason why I won 2 times Mr. Universe. He never knew. I never got a chance to tell him.
Wow.
To this day. Maybe I should.
You probably should.
Maybe I should. But to what you're saying, sometimes you help people and the impact is not immediate. So
And honestly, he doesn't need to know, because he gave that willingly.
Exactly. So, and that comes back to what I was saying, it doesn't matter what they do with it. Do what you're meant to be doing and what makes you feel good about it. That's what is more important. Scott, your passion for service and the community is truly inspiring, and what you're doing for people and for yourself. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here and share kind of my passion for helping folks, and telling you it's addicting. Do it
You're
more.
making so many people, get a purpose. Their own purpose.
Sometimes it's about spreading that contagion on someone else so that they become addicted. It's a good addiction.
Desire to give. Keep it inside of you. It becomes poison. You need to spread it out. It's like energy. You need to release it and give.
Yeah.
So to our listeners, if this episode inspired you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a dose of purpose and passion. Stay bold, stay kind, and keep living your no limits life.
Follow your heart. All you gotta do is follow.